they served me a frozen scallop that I think the cat had pissed on the night before, and I had severe food poisoning beyond belief.
For years, viewers were told kitchen nightmares ended because Gordon Ramsay was exhausted or television had moved on. But decades into his career, Ramsay finally admitted the real reason was far darker and deeply personal.
I think you're too far gone.
Okay, then let's end the show. You think I'm too far gone? There's no hope. It's Christmas. Let's go home.
Behind the shouting, dramatic rescues and hit ratings was a repeating pattern of failure that stayed with him long after filming ended. And one restaurant crossed a line that made him walk away for good. Unpredictable failure of a popular show. Gordon Ramsay was already a top-notch name in the culinary world long before reality television turned him into a global figure. His career was built on discipline, technical skill, and an intense work ethic that earned him 7 Michelin stars. Over time, that reputation expanded beyond fine dining. Viewers became interested not just in his food, but in his opinions, his standards, and the way he ran kitchens. At his peak, Ramsay operated 88 restaurants worldwide, including 32 in the United States. But kitchen nightmares would reveal something about the restaurant industry that even Ramsay had not fully grasped. Most failing restaurants cannot be saved, no matter who tries to help them. When Kitchen Nightmares first aired in the United Kingdom, the formula was simple and direct. Each episode focused on a struggling restaurant that was close to shutting down. Ramsay arrived, assessed the food, the staff, and the management, then confronted the problems head-on. There were no elaborate competitions or celebrity guests. The tension came from real businesses on the brink of collapse. Viewers were watching livelihoods at risk, not scripted drama. What truly hooked audiences worldwide was the structure of the show. The early chaos pulled viewers in. The confrontation kept them watching, and the transformation, whether successful or not, delivered a clear payoff. The pace was tight, and every scene pushed the story forward. There was always a sense that something could go wrong at any moment, which made the outcome feel uncertain. Ramsay's authenticity set the show apart. His anger was not performative. His criticism was rooted in experience, not entertainment. When he praised a dish, it felt earned. When he exploded, it felt real. That honesty made the show believable, even uncomfortable at times. Viewers trusted that what they were seeing was not polished for television, but pulled directly from real kitchens under pressure. As the show's ratings climbed in both the United Kingdom and the United States, it began to dominate reality television. Awards, international versions, and massive viewership followed. However, that success also masked deeper issues. Not every restaurant stayed open. Not every fix lasted. The show's impact was powerful but not permanent. Still, Kitchen Nightmares felt unstoppable because it moved fast, stayed focused, and never let success slow its momentum. Statistic that haunted Gordon Ramsay. There is one number that followed Gordon Ramsay long after the cameras stopped rolling: 82%. According to tracking by Reality TV Revisited and similar independent analyses, approximately 80 to 82% of restaurants featured on Kitchen Nightmares in the United States eventually closed. While this figure was not officially released by Fox or the production company, it is based on documented follow-ups to featured establishments across multiple time frames. For Ramsay, this was not just a statistic, it became personal. On television, he appeared as the unstoppable fixer. He walked into failing kitchens, confronted owners with hard truths, overhauled menus, retrained staff, and reopened restaurants within days. Viewers saw dramatic turnarounds, but the real world did not operate on television timelines. Most of these restaurants were already burdened by deep debt, long-term mismanagement, weak locations, or years of damaged reputation. A short intervention, no matter how intense, could not undo those structural problems. This is where the gap between TV success and real-world survival became clear. A restaurant might reopen with strong initial buzz, but sustaining that momentum requires disciplined leadership, financial stability, and consistent execution. Many owners reverted to old habits once filming ended. Others simply ran out of money, even after improving food quality and branding. The show delivered exposure, not protection. Visibility did not equal viability. The number weighed heavily on Ramsay because of his own standards. He is known for strict systems, long staff training periods, and constant performance monitoring in his own restaurants. Kitchen nightmares forced him to work against time. He had days to diagnose failures that had developed over the years. That conflict between perfection and speed followed him throughout the series. Early seasons made this reality impossible to ignore. Reports showed that fewer than 10% of restaurants from the first 2 seasons were still operating years later. This was not a judgment on Ramsay's ability, but a reflection of the industry itself. Restaurants fail quickly, and once decline begins, recovery is rare. That is why the 82% mattered. It stripped away the illusion. Television cannot fix broken systems. Fame does not reverse financial collapse, and even Gordon Ramsay cannot change the odds when they are already stacked too high. What viewers never saw off camera. Gordon Ramsay suffered food poisoning multiple times during Kitchen Nightmares filming. Not from carefully prepared meals, but from rotten meat, moldy refrigerators, and spoiled seafood he was forced to taste on camera to prove how dangerous these kitchens had become. Behind the sharp edits and dramatic music was a much darker reality that explains why Ramsay eventually walked away from the original Kitchen Nightmares. Unsafe kitchens were not staged for television. Rotten meat, moldy fridges, rancid sauces, and dead shellfish were real. Ramsay was not just reacting for show. He was often tasting food that smelled sour, felt slimy, or left a burning sensation in his throat. In multiple interviews, Ramsay admitted he suffered food poisoning during filming. The constant exposure to unsafe food damaged his stomach over time. In one filmed incident, a customer was seen projectile vomiting outside a restaurant after eating the same dish Ramsay had just tasted. That moment was shocking on screen, but off camera it confirmed what Ramsay already knew. These kitchens were making people sick. The emotional exhaustion was just as severe. Ramsay did not only fight dirty kitchens, he fought denial, ego, and resistance. Owners would promise change while cameras were rolling, only to slip back into old habits the moment production packed up. Ramsay has said this was the most frustrating part of the process. The effort was real, the renovations were real, but long-term change was not guaranteed. Over time, Ramsay realized that pressure does not equal commitment. Shouting can force action, but it cannot force accountability. For 7 years, Kitchen Nightmares dominated television. The formula worked, but Ramsay paid the price physically and mentally. His role on the show went far beyond menu fixes. He effectively acted as a health inspector. He uncovered kitchens that violated basic food safety standards. Dead lobsters sat in display tanks. Spoiled meat-filled walk-in fridges. Grease-coated surfaces had not been cleaned in months. These were not cosmetic problems, they were public health risks. Ramsay's anger came from knowing customers trusted these restaurants with their health. Eventually, the pattern became clear. No matter how hard he pushed, many owners reverted once the pressure disappeared. Ramsay has openly said that this realization changed how he approached television. Effort without ownership meant failure. That understanding is why the original Kitchen Nightmares ended. What viewers saw as entertainment was, for Ramsay, a warning sign that some systems cannot be fixed from the outside. The restaurant that ended everything. In 2014, Gordon Ramsay filmed at a restaurant in a French ski resort located at 7,000 feet. The owner's attitude during that week of filming became the final straw that ended Kitchen Nightmares. By that point, Ramsay had already dealt with almost every type of restaurant owner imaginable on the show. Some were stubborn, others were delusional. Many were simply incapable of running a business. Exploding tempers and chaotic kitchens were nothing new to him. But this case was different. It was not about incompetence. It was about intent. The restaurant sat in a remote alpine village where tourists arrived after long days on the slopes. The views were spectacular, But the isolation mattered more. There were no nearby alternatives. Once night fell, guests could not leave the mountain to eat elsewhere. The owner knew this. The staff knew this. Ramsay realized quickly that the location was being used as leverage. The food itself was not the core issue. What disturbed Ramsay was the mindset behind it. According to Ramsay in later interviews, the owner showed no interest in improving because he knew the customers were trapped. With no competition and no escape, the restaurant could overcharge, underdeliver, and still remain full. After spending a full week attempting to fix the business, Ramsay came to a blunt conclusion. The owner was not failing. He was exploiting the situation on purpose. That crossed a line Ramsay had rarely seen. To him, this was no longer about bad management or poor standards. It was a deliberate abuse of trust. That realization marked a turning point. Ramsay later explained that this experience forced him to reconsider his role on the show. He was no longer helping struggling businesses learn. He was confronting people who had no intention of changing. The format no longer worked when the problem was moral, not operational. This restaurant became the emotional endpoint of kitchen nightmares on Fox. Despite strong ratings and pressure from producers to continue with new twists, Ramsay walked away. The show ended not because he ran out of patience, but because he lost faith in what the intervention could achieve. For Ramsay, this case represented something deeper than a failed restaurant. It exposed how isolation, power, and greed could combine into a system designed to take advantage of people who had no choice. And that, more than any shouting match or ruined dish, was what finally ended everything. Breaking point. By the later years of Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay was no longer surprised by resistance. He had dealt with denial, excuses, and open hostility countless times. What weighed on him was something deeper. The growing realization that most of the restaurants he helped would fail again once the cameras left. Change only lasted when owners truly wanted it. 7 years of filming had taken a physical and mental toll. Ramsay endured food poisoning, unsafe kitchens, and constant confrontation. He kept pushing forward because he believed the show could still make a difference. But behind the scenes, that belief was fading. After one particularly exhausting week of filming in the Alps, everything became clear. The experience did not introduce a new problem. It confirmed an old truth Ramsay had been avoiding. No level of expertise, pressure, or television exposure could fix people who refused to take responsibility. After that week, Ramsay made his decision. He contacted Fox and informed them that Kitchen Nightmares was ending. The choice had nothing to do with ratings or popularity. It was about limits. He understood that intervention only works when there is a willingness to change, and many of the owners featured on the show simply did not have it. The Alps experience did not break Ramsay. It clarified things. It showed him that continuing the series meant repeating the same cycle with the same outcome. Walking away was not failure. It was an acknowledgement. Kitchen Nightmares had reached the point where effort no longer matched results, and Ramsay chose to stop before the show lost its meaning entirely. The phone call that shocked Fox. It all began with a phone call that shifted the balance of power. Gordon Ramsay, already a major force in television, personally called Fox to pitch Kitchen Nightmares. That alone caught executives off guard. Large shows of this scale were usually handled through agents or production companies, not direct calls from the talent. But Ramsay did not follow the usual rules. He was not asking for an opportunity. He was presenting a concept he already believed in, and he expected to be taken seriously. Fox executives were reportedly surprised when Ramsay personally called to pitch Kitchen Nightmares rather than working through agents or production companies. His reputation carried weight, and the direct approach made it clear this was not a standard negotiation. The network, known for tightly managing its projects, suddenly found itself in an unfamiliar position. Instead of shaping a show around a presenter, they were dealing with a presenter who already knew exactly what the show should be. Negotiations followed quickly. Fox attempted to adjust budgets, suggest format changes, and place limits on how the show would operate. Ramsay refused to bend. He understood what made his earlier work connect with audiences and was unwilling to dilute it. His demands reflected what had made his UK shows successful: complete creative control and authentic portrayals of failing restaurants. As discussions continued, the power shift became obvious. Fox, a major broadcast network, was no longer dictating terms. Ramsay's confidence and clarity left little room for compromise. The concept depended on his presence, his authority, and his willingness to confront restaurant owners without filters or soft edits. Without that intensity, the format simply would not work. This moment revealed a central truth about kitchen nightmares. The show was inseparable from Ramsay himself. The idea of a chef walking into broken kitchens, exposing dysfunction, and forcing accountability relied entirely on his credibility. No substitute could deliver the same pressure, fear, or authenticity. His involvement was not optional, it was foundational. The phone call also exposed a rare industry reversal. Networks usually decide what survives. In this case, the talent held the leverage. Ramsay was not just hosting the show, he was driving it. Fox could either accept his terms or lose the project altogether. That call marked the beginning of a series where control rested firmly with the chef, not the network, and everything that followed flowed from that moment. Why the replacement failed. When 24 Hours to Hell and Back premiered, expectations were high. The show, which aired from 2018 to 2020 for 3 seasons, attempted to accelerate the Kitchen Nightmares format by condensing restaurant transformations into just 24 hours instead of several days. It promised high-stakes rescues, rapid transformations, and dramatic revelations. Yet, despite the initial buzz, the replacement failed to capture its audience, leaving fans and critics disappointed. One of the biggest issues was overproduction and a rushed format. Each episode tried to cram too much into 60 minutes with urgent timelines and constant action sequences. While this created a sense of immediacy, it sacrificed depth and authenticity. Viewers quickly noticed that behind the dramatic edits, many scenarios felt staged or superficial. The original show built tension by showing realistic struggles and problem-solving in real time. By contrast, the replacement prioritized speed over substance, and that imbalance turned audiences off. Audience rejection became apparent almost immediately. Critical and audience reception was notably poor compared to the original Kitchen Nightmares. Fans criticized the show for glossing over real challenges and focusing instead on spectacle. On social media and YouTube fan forums, viewers openly mocked the over-the-top drama and unrealistic portrayals. They wanted insight and transformation, not just fast-paced excitement. A ratings collapse soon followed. Nielsen ratings revealed a sharp drop after the first few episodes. Initial curiosity drew viewers in, but the lack of meaningful content and overhyped urgency caused them to tune out. TV Line reviews echoed this sentiment, highlighting that the replacement felt rushed and hollow compared to the original. The failure wasn't just about entertainment, it was about trust. Audiences invest in shows they believe reflect reality, and when that trust is broken, they walk away. The key lesson lies in the contrast between urgency and depth. 24 Hours to Hell and Back aimed to deliver high energy and non-stop action, but in doing so, it lost the authenticity that made viewers care. Speed might grab attention, but without depth, it cannot sustain engagement. The replacement rushed through stories that needed time to develop, leaving audiences disengaged and dissatisfied. 2023 comeback, and what's different now? Gordon Ramsay returned in 2023, but this time, the show feels different. Fans immediately notice a shift in tone. Where earlier seasons thrived on fiery outbursts and shock value, the latest episodes emphasize mentorship and growth. The 2023 season, which premiered on Fox, marked Ramsay's first return to the Kitchen Nightmares format in 9 years. Ramsay still critiques with precision, but the rage that once defined him has softened, replaced with guidance and encouragement for chefs trying to find their footing. This isn't nostalgia for past drama, it's a clear evolution in how the show operates. One of the first noticeable changes is the selective approach to restaurants. Instead of tackling any kitchen in sight, the 2023 return focuses on establishments that offer real potential for transformation. These choices allow Ramsay to dive deeper into operational issues, menu strategy, and staff development. The audience sees not just a struggling restaurant, but a complete journey of improvement. This selective strategy also makes the storytelling more compelling, as viewers witness measurable growth instead of fleeting chaos. Another significant shift is the authenticity influenced by UK-style programming. Fans of Ramsay's original British shows will feel a familiar energy. There's a stronger focus on real-life challenges and less on staged drama. Conversations feel raw and genuine, capturing the struggles and triumphs of restaurateurs. This approach makes the show relatable and keeps viewers invested in the story behind the kitchen doors. Ramsay himself appears to be enjoying the process more than ever. Multiple scenes highlight moments where he collaborates with chefs, demonstrates techniques, and celebrates progress. These interactions reveal a side of him that fans rarely saw in earlier, more confrontational seasons. It's clear that this season isn't just about testing others, it's also about showcasing Ramsay's own growth as a mentor and a chef. Audience reactions reflect these changes. Comment sections and reaction videos show viewers appreciating the focus on practical advice, long-term transformation, and Ramsay's quieter, more constructive style. Critics from Variety and Fox Press materials note the balance of intensity and guidance, praising the show for keeping its edge while maturing its approach. The 2023 return proves why Ramsay had to end the original show. He couldn't sustain a format that was physically damaging him, emotionally exhausting him, and fundamentally not working, with over 80% of restaurants failing regardless of his intervention. By stepping away in 2014, Ramsay gave himself time to rethink the entire approach, choosing restaurants with real potential instead of hopeless cases, focusing on sustainable change instead of dramatic transformations, and prioritizing mentorship over confrontation. The French Alps restaurant taught him that some owners can't be saved. The 9-year gap taught him how to identify which ones can.